Okay, so good morning, everybody. The topic, as you can see, is an intelligent system based on deep learning we have been developing. My name is Prof Wang from University of Kent. Controlling. So who are we? We are a computing lab and opened by the Queen, Her Majesty, many, many years ago. And where are we? If you take Eurostar from London to Paris, we're on the halfway and the peninsula of Kent. So we label ourselves as the gateway to the European continent and the Garden of England. So I had served head of school for 6 years. I stepped down early this year, so I'm now on sabbatical. So as the head of school, and this is a hanging sword over our heads. And every 7 years, 8 years, the UK government give all 150 universities such a research assessment. Namely, we called the Research Excellence Framework, REF. And the latest one was 2014. We did a not bad job. You can see familiar names. We are ranked number 12 nationwide. So this is our university, our school. The first topic I would like to discuss here is the fact the human brain is deep learning computer. So don't get surprised and with deep learning. Actually, our brain is already a deep learning machine. So last year, this is a milestone event in the computer science evolutionary history. And for the first time, a computer beat gold champion Mr. Lee from South Korea. You may naturally ask, 20 years ago, and the first speaker from IBM introduced just now, and another computer, Deep Blue, already beat human champion Mr. Kasparov from Russia. And why last year, this 2016, and another computer beat gold champion is another milestone. Is there any similarity? Regarding the gameplay, they're very similar. But regarding the computer architectures, they're completely different. So the later is so-called deep learning computer. This 20 years ago machine is a traditional Van Neumann machine. Anyway, this is a moment of truth, and Mr. Kasparov was very sad 20 years ago, and when he was beaten by the Deep Blue, he thought there must be a cheating, there must be a group and a master player hiding behind the screen. So this is a moment of truth. I don't know how many people here playing chess. Are you in a position to appreciate this moment of truth? How Deep Blue beat Mr. Kasparov, the world champion? So you know the white and the computer is white. The white is attacking, is checking the black king. This is quite obvious, no way to escape but here. So move here. So I want to ask any volunteer to give a guess. What next move for the white? After that move, and Mr. Kasparov resigned. After the black king moved here, where should the white go?
Anyone?
Any?
G8? Queen?
Exactly, G8. The queen moved here on the top. Then the black king got no way to escape, but here. But when the black king moved here, the linkage between the queen and the pawn is cut off, then collapsed. The horse can kill this. So anyway, he resigned. He was very upset. This is a moment of truth. Computer clever, yeah. I would like to say here, this computer still is a traditional computer, and compared with today's deep learning machine I'm going to report here. For example, and why this Deep Blue and so one example is Deep Blue has a huge database, and 20 years ago, and 200 terabytes is huge. Today is nothing, but 20 years ago. So if the game entering the last stage, end game 7 pieces, no matter what they are, the computer controls the situation. No time wasting, no mistake making, and because all possibilities included in this huge database. So 20 years ago's machine is not deep learning machine, traditional machine with huge storage, computational power, that's it. So we still view last year's, this AlphaGo is a new computer, is a deep learning computer, is another milestone in computer science evolutionary history. So that is a context of the deep learning machine. I don't think many people playing Go. It is an Oriental game. It's very simple. It's a white stone, black stone. You try to enclose more field. And the current move by the white is AlphaGo is this one. So before this one is black stir. Black went there and tried to enclose field there. It's natural move, but later was seriously criticized by experts. This is the move of the failure. Yeah, so this one, and make these 3 black stones isolated. They're already isolated in real danger. So is a Mr. Lee and that move and is a failure. Yeah. So this is deep learning, and thanks for those deep learning pioneers and insistency, and after very long winter of artificial intelligence, 3 or 4 decades long, such a long winter, we are celebrating the spring of artificial intelligence thanks to the invention of deep learning and technique. Yeah. Actually, and deep learning, the idea came from this Nobel Prize winning work, 1981, and 2 professors from Johns Hopkins University. And this is a cat. This is not a human brain. They have sacrificed many, many cats. They drill holes on the skull and try to put electrodes to measure the activity of certain areas neurons. They want to investigate the relationship between the object and the cat is observing and specific regions neurons activities. Eventually, they find specific regions neuron are sensitive to specific shapes with different orientations. So this is the finding, this is the discovery. So this is a very important work, and this is conceived 20 years later, and the emergence of deep learning. Yeah. So simply speaking, the cat is observing some edges. As you can see here, is a huge library. You see edges with a different orientation. It is just a line, but with a different orientation. So the first layer and is very detailed and duty recognition. So the first layer just recognize edges with different orientation. Then, based on the edge detection, edge recognition, and the cat and is in a position and to recognize more complicated objects. I'll give you an example. Yeah. So if you are expecting an intelligent machine to recognize a triangle, as you can see here, a triangle, you must ask your machine to recognize the elements first. For example, the edge lying down, the edge and leaning. And after you have recognized some element, you're in a position at a high level, you'll say this is a triangle. As simple as that. This is a deep learning. And compared with traditional artificial architecture, you'll see more intermediate layers. Actually, each layer has a very detailed duty division and focus on specific element detections. And layer by layer, and is a high level and abstraction. This is a basic idea of deep learning, and based on that Nobel Prize winning work. I would like to give you another example. If you are performing a relatively complex and mathematical calculation like this one, and you see log, you see cosine, you see exp, you see sine, why not chop down your complicated job into small pieces? So each time you do simple function calculation. So that's deep learning. So this one is a traditional one, shallow learning. This is deep learning. So layer by layer and duty division. So this is a neural network computer. It's very simple, just two basic elements. One is called neurons. Neuron is something could be active, emitting and pulse. We call pulse spike. And another one is a connection between neurons, and we call it synapse, as you can see here. So actually, the intelligence and come from synapse rather than neuron, because synapse can change itself to adapt to the changing environment. Just now I mentioned 3 or 4 decades and a long winter of artificial intelligence neural network. Why? This is largely because of the fact of this. Yeah, a neuron could be connected to 20,000, up to 20,000 other neurons via synapse. So 1 versus 20,000. So this is the difficulty. Don't expect using the same technology to implement both. For example, if you use the CMOS technology, the most popular semiconductor technology to implement both, you may result in the same integration areas. It doesn't make sense. Same area, how can you link 1 to 20,000? This is the basic difficulty. So thanks to the invention of memristor, and we are doing, and it opens a new way to implement and new deep learning, new neural network and architecture. So what is memristor? So I have no time to introduce more, but simply speaking, it's a two-terminal device like capacitor, like inductor, like resistor, but it is a new element. I would like to introduce another work by my colleague, Cambridge University, Professor Mark Blanmeyer. His team succeeded in making such a tiny junction, half nanometer, which implies a memristor synapse, you know, this key element for neural network computer, could be as small as a half nanometer. So this is very encouraging. So which implies we can
at a rapid pace. And are
so some video about synapse change itself. You see sometimes synapse get strengthened, get bigger and bigger. Some disappear. If you are not using it simply disappear. If you use one synapse frequently, and it can and larger and larger, and so this is how a neural network
reinforced through repeated use.
How neural net computer works. Okay, so next subtopic is I give you a few examples and for intelligent system. You know my title of the presentation is intelligent system. So the first one is Pavlov dog. I think you must be familiar with it. So if you are traveling today in Russia, you can still visit the museum and the dog and Pavlov. So the Pavlov dog experiment is a conditional reflex. If you serve food to a dog, the dog generates salivation to digest the food. So this is a simple fact. You give input, you get output. So if you ring the bell to a dog, no reaction no salivation, because nothing to do with each other. So Pavlov, every time when he served food to the dog, he rings the bell. So gradually, he training the dog, eventually ring the bell only. The dog reacts by generating salivation. So seemingly two independent events, you can associate them by training, by learning. So this is what I want to say. We can use a very simple, maybe the simplest neural net computer to reproduce Pavlov dog's behavior. As you can see here, this is very simple architecture. Just 3 neurons, just now I mentioned 2 elements, neuron and synapse. 3 neurons, 1 neuron is eye, the sight, another is ear, listen to the sound. The last neuron, number 3, is the salivation, the mouth water generation, something like that. Yeah. So why every time when you serve food and salivation is generated? Because there is a link. There is a link by birth. You don't need to train the dog. The dog by birth and possess such a connection between this neuron and this neuron. When this neuron is active, of course, this neuron and follows. So as simple as that. Why when you ring the bell, no response? Because no link or the link is off. So maybe there, but is high resistance is off. You need to train, you need to teach. So this is the key to understand this machine. So memristor, just now I mentioned the 4th element after resistor, inductor, and capacitor. And we got great invention, memristor, by one of my research partner, Professor Leon Chai from University of California. So we put memristor here, and during the training, this one is active because the bell is ringing. So this is active due to the fact of the existence of the food. So these 2 neurons sandwiching the synapse, the memristor here, or give the memristor a training. So gradually, the memristor synapse try to adapt itself to the changing environment. And the resistance is decreasing from high to low, eventually from no connection to connection. That is why eventually, when you ring the bell, and the dog responds by generating salivation. So you succeeded in associating 2 seemingly independent events. That is learning, that is training. That is how a neural network computer works. So we did a lot of work on this simulation experiment. So we published paper. If you're interested, you can download. Delay switching applied to memristor neural networks, and the journal Applied Physics. Another work I want to introduce here is more advanced. It is deep learning. The Pavlov dog is not that deep, but it is neural network. It works to adapt to the changing environment. So this advanced work and is adaptive neuromorphic architecture. Myself, Leon Chai, I mentioned, the inventor of memristor from University of California. So a few years ago, I succeeded in winning a Marie Curie fellowship from the European Commission. So Leon had spent 2 years with me in London. So we publish in neural networks. So I would like to start this work with 2 photos. So this is a 2 photo, bird's view from satellite. The same region in Africa actually is the longest river in Africa. What's that? Longest river is the River Nile. Yes, actually is the longest in the world. So River Amazon is not longest, it's the largest in volume. The longest river in the world is the River Nile. So in Egypt, you know, the delta area. So the difference is time. Yeah, so this one is taken in May, this one in August. What's the difference between these 2 photos? Any volunteer to, you spot any difference? Yeah, the white bits must be water because this is the summer, August. So you see floods, yeah. Anyway, such a thing happened year by year. 5,000 years ago, our ancient Egyptian, and they decided to summarize all these regular natural events. They invented the first calendar in the world. So we view the invention of the calendar as a milestone in humans' civilization history. So 5,000 years ago, we are proud of ourselves, our ancient Egyptians, they invented the calendar. But we may need to shame ourselves later, yeah. So let's observe a genius in nature. This is the amoeba, so-called amoeba, very tiny stuff. You have to observe by microscope. A few years ago, a Japanese group and did excellent work in observing amoeba's behavior. So this is their experimental apparatus. Yeah, they use microscope to observe amoeba's behavior. And they put amoeba in the tube. The tube is long enough. Amoeba can only do one-dimensional movement. And it's full of seawater. It controls the temperature of the water. So sometimes it's 26 degrees, sometimes it's 22 degrees. So they just drop by 4 degrees. They use microscope to observe amoeba's movement, the speed, as you can see here. And most of the time is 26 degrees. And accordingly, you see some movement here. And it's small, 0.2 millimeter every 10 minutes, very slowly moving and tiny and stuff. So it seems amoeba enjoy 26 degrees and they relaxingly and swimming. And but every time when they drop the temperature by 4 degrees, from 26 to 22, accordingly you see the zero velocity. So it seems amoeba doesn't like low temperature. So as if I drop you from helicopter to North Pole, you get frozen. So you don't like low temperature. So amoeba behave like that, very simple. Every time when the time interval is 1 hour, 1 hour. So 3 times the drop temperature, 0, 0, 0. The trick is end of hour 4, no temperature the drop. What happened to amoeba? What happened to amoeba? Stops. Amoeba stops. No temperature drop, amoeba stops. No temperature drop, hour 5, stop, but maybe not stop. It's low speed. So some strange behavior. So based on this observation, may I ask you 3 questions. The first question is...
I'm sorry, I don't have mic. Can you please present us your conclusion, Mr. Wang? Because of our time schedule,
I'm approaching the end.
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Can amoeba remember the past? Yes. So if you're standing here, you know what happened past 3 hours. Amoeba remembers the past. Yeah. My second question is: can amoeba predict the future? Yeah. Amoeba at least is trying to predict the future. It's hour 4. He stops. Yeah, based on the memory of the past. Yeah, maybe wrong, but he's trying to predict. Last question is very interesting. How amoeba knows 1 hour is 1 hour? Is this stupid question? Do all human beings know 1 hour is 1 hour without watch, without clock, without mobile phone? You know 1 hour is 1 hour? Anyway, so amoeba possess biological clock very accurately. So our work is to try to reproduce amoeba's behavior by designing such a simple circuit. The key element is a memristor sister, we call the memory inductor. So this is the result. So more or less, we are in a position to reproduce every time when you see the temperature drop, you dramatically slow down, stop something. If you're cheating me, no temperature drop. So you see decayed response. So more or less. So we are in a position to say amoeba may have some element like memristor to help itself to remember the past, to know 1 hour is 1 hour, to predict the future. So this is the conclusion of this work. I'm running out of time, so is that okay? Thank you for your attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
So much.
I skipped something, yeah.
It's fast working.
But still give me 30 seconds. So let's check the context of the computer science evolutionary history. So actually, Leon Chai invented the memristor in 1971. And Tim Berners-Lee invented the World Wide Web 1990, deep learning 2006, yeah. And Steve Ferber from University of Manchester developed a machine called Spinnica. And we got AlphaGo 2016. We got Deep Blue somewhere in 1996. Yeah, Deep Blue here. So this is this piece of research, the context. Yeah, thank you. Thank you again. Yeah.